wherever you are. Hope you are blessed and doing safe, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. I'm attorney Gavin Richard. I grew up here in New Orleans, so I know how important family, friends, and community are to us. And helping others has been a lifelong passion of mine. If you've been injured in an accident, you may be out of work and faced with large medical bills. You'll need someone to fight the insurance companies so that you can get on with your life. Give me a call at 504-799-2288, and I'll be with you all the way. The law offices of Gavin M. Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served. Hi, I'm attorney Gavin M. Richard. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jell-O, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn the attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format. That is the Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. That'll be coming out soon this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to that Facebook page and you see the username at Commonwealth Cos right there. That is where you can get all the updates for the book, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We're going live tonight. You know this is the place to be right here with me. Yours truly, GBoot2786, Gavin Richard, here on YouTube, Gavin Richard, which is my backup channel, as well as the GBoot2786 channel, which is our main channel. We're also on Facebook with my full name, Gavin Richard, and on Twitter at GavinRich2786. Now, we will be taking, of course, a critical examination, as our guest would say, who's always on here, my co-host on Thursdays, Brother Shawn James, the author of The Man Crisis. We will be this. Shawn, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we discuss the following. Senate passes bill to award Emmitt Till and Mammie Till the Congressional Gold Medal. Maya Angelou on the new quarter. Biden asks Senate to bypass filibuster rules to pass voting rights bill. And also, we're going to talk briefly about a singer by the name of Ronnie Spector. Those who may know her, she just recently passed away due to cancer. All this and more, ladies and gentlemen. So if you like this channel, if you like what we're talking about, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. What's up to everybody in the chat? Darius from Atlanta, my man, Tina Ferguson, thank you. I know we got more people coming in. If you would like, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we talk about our advertisement opportunities, but I need you all to hit that Cash App if you can at Gavin Richard Esquire or Google Pay, PayPal, and Zelle, which is at the ticker at the bottom. Shawn can actually be supported by buying his book, such as his latest book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, which is available on Amazon. Right now, Shawn is working on The Woman Crisis. I can't wait for that one to drop, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure it'll be dropping on later this year. So go ahead and do that, guys. Meantime, I need you all to support a brother at the following places, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. We'll bring Shawn back in a little bit. But if you could, I need you all to please check out our Creole Seasoning Blends website, NorniesCreoleBlends.com. Go to that little shopping cart at the top and order you some Creole seasoning, ladies and gentlemen. It is the bomb from what everybody has told me. Everybody loves it. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nornies goes great with every dish. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we have, of course, on Spotify, our songs that you can check out, such as Video Soul. It's our latest single that was released by yours truly, Video Soul. And, of course, our theme song for tonight, as always, we got to get on up, because before we get on down, we got to get on up. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us go ahead and hit the tunes.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me what you have to lose. Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Baby, yeah, gotta get on up. Baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Yeah, that old school R&B flavor. Yeah, that Rocksteady, Whispers, Babyface, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Thank you, Laser Fiance Finance. I said fiance. What the hell? I'm starting to sound like Michael Irvin. Excuse me. Laser Finance. What's up? Let's bring in our brother, Shawn James. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Gavin?
And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, Shawn was not dancing. Shawn doesn't dance to stuff. Shawn is when he's on screen, he's very professional. Look, he smiled a little bit there. We got it. We're gonna get it. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yes, you can support our brother. This is the link to Amazon to pick up some of your amazing books, man. And The Woman Crisis, that'll be coming soon.
Yeah, I'll be coming this fall. I'm in the middle of getting near to finishing the first draft, so it's just a matter of time.
Yes. And let me just give an update, ladies and gentlemen, on the book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. Shawn, you've read it. You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. My legal department has went over stuff, and I'm having some things edited, taking out, but the book will be ready. And probably by sometime next week, I'll have another trailer where you guys can pre-order it. So that's coming up soon. So I'm excited about that. The book is going to be banging, but we want to make sure, because it is nonfiction, I have to make sure everything in it is correct, is good, and straightforward, to avoid any type of legal ramifications. And because people, especially when we're talking about a topic like this is something else. This is not a work of fiction. This is a true story. And what is at stake, what has happened, especially to an elder like Bill Cosby, is that you have seen something that you guys that happens probably once in every 10 years, where there's a major black celebrity who somehow or another gets in trouble with the law. Those charges do not have to be proven in court. They could just be accusations, and just based off the accusations, based off the fact people don't like you or like that person, they run forward with it, and a witch hunt begins. And we're seeing a lot of that. You hear, and I talked about this. I had a very reliable source. I should tell you this. I have a treat. A very reliable source told me some information about that W. Kwamu Bell documentary, or mockumentary, I should say, that's coming out. And this person, won't name their name right now, but apparently they were working or were being interviewed about it, and their reflection of Mr. Cosby. And I don't know if they're going to be in it, but he says that as this person states that as they were talking with Kwamu Bell about it and they were interviewing him, he wasn't liking some of the things that this person was saying about Mr. Cosby because he was fair and balanced. This person was fair and balanced, and Kwamu Bell didn't like it, from what I've heard, from what he told me. So, Shawn, you're shaking your head.
I was thinking about what you're saying.
Yes. So, what does that tell y'all?
Tells you it's propaganda. It's a hit piece.
It's a hit piece, and it comes from the Sundance Film Festival, which I don't know what it is, but I think Surviving R. Kelly was there. I know for a fact Leaving Neverland came from there. For sure. But I also know that Sundance, which was co-founded by Robert Redford, one of their founders, we talked about it, he has charges for sexually assaulting a minor. We're not going to see his documentary, though. There's no Surviving Sundance.
Nope.
None whatsoever. So we're going to go ahead, Brother Shawn, and get started. But yeah, but that's why I'm doing this book, because it's to combat stuff like that. We talked about this. We talked about it all the time, Shawn. We do. So we're trying to combat crap like this. Now, I want to give a tribute to someone, an American singer, ladies and gentlemen, who just recently passed away. As you all know, we are losing a lot of legends. And this woman, she was Black, believe it or not, Ronnie Spector. Her husband was Phil Spector. She passed away due to cancer. Now, she was Black. A lot of people didn't know that, but Ronnie Spector was a part of a group called the Ronettes. And, her singing, her style of singing, she was part of what was called the Wall of Sound that he wasn't her husband then, but she had an affair with him. He was married already. But she took his name, Ronnie Spector, and she sang lead on songs like Be My Baby, Baby I Love You, Walking in the Rain. I believe she was also on When He Kissed Me, which is played all the time on Goodfellas, in Goodfellas when they were walking down in the kitchen to get to the main room. So her vocals have been on some major hits. She was born Veronica Barrett in Manhattan. She began singing and dancing in clubs as Ronnie and the relatives becoming noteworthy for their liberal use of eyeliner and mascara, according to this Associated Press. It says here that her influence was felt far and wide. Brian Wilson who's the founder of the Beach Boys, became obsessed with Be My Baby, and Billy Joel wrote Say Goodbye to Hollywood in her honor. A couple other people she influenced was Amy Winehouse. Martin Scorsese used her song Be My Baby to open his film Mean Streets. And some people have come out and said some things in respect to her. According to this, it says here Steve Van Zandt, who was known for playing Silvio in The Sopranos. A lot of people don't know he was also a guitarist for Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band. He wrote, I loved her voice so much, and she was a very special person and a dear friend. Diane Warren called her the voice of a million teenage dreams, including mine. She is survived by her husband, Jonathan Greenfield, and two sons, John and Austin. Now, you of course hear her on that Christmas album that Phil Spector wrote. That is not wrote but produced, which is I think one of the best-selling Christmas albums of all time. We've heard it obviously this season, Shawn. So if you had anything special you wanted to say about Miss Spector, you can go ahead. If anybody, but may she rest in peace.
Well, I am sorry to hear about the passing of Ronnie Spector. She truly was a great talent and a great singer. And I'm really saddened to hear that she is gone. I mean, she went through a lot with her husband in the past, and I'd heard about that part of the story.
Yeah,
And she went through that ordeal with him and all the stuff he was going through with him. But after that, she went on to live a very peaceful life, I think, so far. And she did make a great contribution to music with her and the Ronettes. And that's something everybody will always remember, all of the great contributions she gave as related to many of these legendary and iconic songs like Be My Baby, which is one of the songs I remember her for. And just a beautiful voice altogether. She had one of the great voices as related to singing, and she definitely, as I see it, will be missed by just about everyone. And she'll always be remembered again for that beautiful voice, being a part of that wall of sound with her husband, which was a major contribution to American music in the 60s. And she'll always be remembered for just being a very elegant and dignified lady.
that's her ex-husband, Phil Spector.
Yeah,
Ugh,
he was a creepy guy.
Bozo the Clown. No offense.
The less said about him, the more.
Yeah, he was convicted of murder.
Yeah, he was a
Al,
deviant. He was a
yeah,
sexual deviant.
Al Pacino played him in the movie. That's Al Pacino. That's Phil Spector. Hey, he's walking around looking like Guppy Troop's son. The bowler, Kyle Troop. Because Kyle the only white boy I know that rocks an afro. Yeah. But he's in, I mean, look, since we're talking about creeps and so forth, I mean, I believe he's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. They're not taking his awards down. He murdered somebody. You know, they don't do that with whites, but they do it with us. Yeah. He died, Phil Spector. So wait, he died last year.
Yeah,
Okay, so his ex-wife outlived him.
because Ronnie talked about how he had stalked her and did all sorts of. I mean, he just was creepy.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So this is Ronnie. So that's Ronnie there.
Yeah,
Oh, she's cute.
yeah, she was very attractive.
Yeah, they all were cute. Well, all of them were gorgeous. But damn, what did she see in him? Ugh,
Well, it was basically she was close to a
Ronnie.
manager, and he was managing her. So she saw the guy who was having some economic power and wealth, and she just
Just,
then
Shawn,
was working with him every day.
just cut to the chase, Shawn. He was gonna help her career.
Yeah, he was helping her career, and that's why she married him. Until she found out how much of a deviant he was.
That's like Mariah and
Tommy Mottola.
Mottola. Yeah. Diana Ross and Barry. Well, I'm not gonna say Barry Gordy was a creep, but Diana Ross was messing around with Barry Gordy. You know.
Because that happens when women work with powerful men. They just want to be with the powerful guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the business. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
You could be the ugliest man. I mean, even with Weinstein to a degree, he's the type of mug that if he didn't have money, he wouldn't have fucked around with all those women.
Nope.
He had money and influence. That's how he was able to get access to all of that. Yeah. But rest in peace, Ronnie Spector, a gorgeous woman. I like Goodfellas. Yes, a Christmas gift from you from Philly Records. This is the album, Shawn, that they're on, and it was voted by Rolling Stone magazine as one of the greatest albums of all time, 142. I think the only it was ranked the greatest Christmas album of 20 in 2019 by Rolling Stone. The songs that were on there, of course, they did. The Ronettes did Sleigh Ride. We hear that all the time. Frosty the Snowman. Uh, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Yeah, Veronica's voice is heard on that. So Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007, Vocal Group Hall of Fame of 2004 voted the 422nd greatest. Uh, they had the 422nd greatest album of all time. Uh, yeah, just hits. Just hits. So may she rest in peace. So I said, then he kissed me. I think that was the Crystals. I probably made a mistake with that. Yes, then he kissed me was the Crystals. It wasn't the Ronettes. My mistake. Whenever I hear that song, I want to walk through the back way of a kitchen. Y'all get the reference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers. All right. Yeah, Dorothy Dandridge did. She married an ugly ass white boy. I mean, Latoya Jackson was messing with that fat white man that was kicking her ass, beating her bad. All right, let's go ahead, Shawn. Let's get started. But rest in peace, Miss Ronnie. Uh, so let's talk about it. I know you're doing a video on this, Shawn, but
Yeah.
Maya Angelou on the new mint quarter. Now, this is reported from Reuters, as well as the AP and other outlets. We have that here, and I didn't even know this was going on, but Maya Angelou is set to be the first Black woman to appear on the American quarter. The U.S. Mint has started rolling out quarters which will feature the late author and activist Maya Angelou. The coin is part of the American Women Quarters program, which also includes Anna May Wong, the first Chinese American Hollywood film star, the United States Mint said on Monday. Angelou rose to international prominence after the publication of her groundbreaking autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, with its unflinching account of rape and racism in the segregated South. At age 7, Angelou was raped by her mother's boyfriend, who was later beaten to death in an assault that some believe was carried out by her uncles. The trauma of the rape and her assailant's death left mute. Angelou mute for 6 years. She began writing during the silent period. Maya Angelou died in 2014 at the age of 86. The prolific African American writer was known for her lyrical prose and regal speaking voice. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, each time we redesign our currency, we have a chance to say something about our country, what we value, and how we've progressed as a society. I'm very proud that these coins celebrate the contributions of some of America's most remarkable women, including Maya Angelou. The recipient of more than 30 honorary degrees, Angelou read on the pulse of morning at the 1993 inauguration of President Bill Clinton. Her reading marked the first time an African American woman wrote and presented a poem at a presidential inauguration. Barack Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2010, She was also the recipient of the 2013 Literarian Award and an honorary National Book Award for contributions to the literary community. All right. According to this, the other people that are going to be, other women that will be on the American quarter will be Sally Ride, who is the first woman in space, the first American woman in space, Willa Mankiller, the Cherokees Nation first female principal chief, Angelina Otero Warren, a leader in New Mexico's suffrage movement. So all of this, guys, and Shawn talked about this, and I were just talking. It is more tangible, more symbolism for our people. We were talking about that. Yeah, I find it to be symbolic as well, just empty symbolism. This is our reparations. Now, remember a couple of years ago, they were talking about putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. And I remember when Judge Joe Brown was talking about it and it went viral, he was on his show saying how disrespectful it would be to black men to not have a black man on the $20 bill, $1 bill, or whatever before you put Harriet Tubman in. And his reasoning was is that as a society, people look to men to be, when people think of the military, when people think of its leaders and nation, it's our men. Now, that's not an insult against women, of course, but society, for what he's saying, and I'm quoting Judge, that was his opinion. You know, society looks at its men to do the grunt work with stuff. But how I'm looking at this whole thing, so we have Maya Angelou on the quarter, we have these other women on the quarter. So what they're saying is that they're putting all it's basically women on the quarter, and it doesn't even matter the race. They just want a woman on there because they got Maya Angelou, and then they're saying they're bringing other women on there as well. I don't find this. I guess you could say it's great for Maya Angelou's family, and yes, there may be some education behind it for kids, but for me, it's just symbolism, Shawn.
Yeah, that's basically what it is to me. I mean, I look at this whole gesture, and it's one of the worst symbolic gestures that you could ever give black people as a race. I mean, I look at this whole, let's put Maya Angelou on the quarter, and that's one big middle finger up at all of black America. And the reason why it's a middle finger up at black America is, like you said, Judge Joe Brown had mentioned that you're putting the black man in the background, and we've got many great black men who should be on the currency. I mean, many black men were great leaders, like the late Frederick Douglass, like Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X,
Medgar Evers.
I mean, even people like your Marcus Garvey and many others. All of these black men, they were leaders who led different causes and great contributions to America. And what you do is, instead of putting those black men up at the forefront as the first person to be on American currency, you go out here and get one of the females from the bottom as related to contributors to society, Maya Angelou, someone who basically was nothing more than a black feminist, who was nothing more than a white supremacist, and a swirler who was going out here having relationships with white men. So you go out here and you get the worst black woman and put her on the currency, and basically saying that you have no respect for black people, especially heterosexual black men, because you're basically saying that the only people you respect and regard are those who promote self-hatred, anti-black racism, and those who are just about promoting the idea of being either a slave or a mammy or some sort of role. But you're not going to go out here and promote black people who actually advance the race in any sort of way. This is a contemptuous gesture by the government. And again, it just shows how little respect they have for black people as a race. Moreover, the whole idea of giving us Maya Angelou on a quarter, that's a symbolic gesture that means absolutely nothing. Because again, passively you put a black person on the quarter, but aggressively you put somebody on the quarter who made no real contributions and helped continue to drive a wedge between black men and black women in the gender war. And then you go out here and you celebrate this person like they're some sort of hero, but this person was an enemy to black people. And you just do this as an empty symbolic gesture to say, oh, we have so called representation, but what it's representing is anti black racism, and it's representing nothing more than contempt for black people. I mean, yes, you put her on the quarter, but where are the tangibles for black people?
Shawn?
And it's one that really, again, just it just really disgusts
What do
me because it's an insult to all black
you think
people.
of what do you think of Michelle Obama's comments when she says she celebrates it being that she's the first black woman on the US quarter?
That's an empty gesture from an empty woman, and it's just meant to sound good. But the whole thing is, she doesn't really know the substance of what this gesture really means. I mean, a lot of black people, especially a lot of the black people from what I call the bootlick class, they will sit there and say, "Oh, this is a great gesture," but this is not anything of substance. It's just a flashy gesture to say, "Hey, we're including you passively, but aggressively, we're showing contempt for you because this is something, again, it's an insult to black people because when you think about all the black men who have gone out here and been out here working from the days of slavery. I mean, you could even put Crispus Attucks, the first black man to die in a Boston massacre, on this quarter and would have more meaning. But to go out here and bring in Maya Angelou and push her all the way to the front of the line, that is an insult to black people because when you look at Maya Angelou's past history, outside of a few empty speeches, this woman has done nothing but bring problems to black people with her black feminist narratives and her black feminist books that promote nothing more than anti black misandry and have gone out here. She's sitting up there talking bad about black men, all while she's married to a white man and going out here and promoting white supremacy to young black girls in these colleges. But you're going to celebrate this woman and think that it's something nice. And it's really, again, an insult to black people as a collective.
Yeah, I remember reading Why the Caged Bird Sings when I was in high school. It was required reading for us in the 10th grade, I believe, with my English teacher. And honestly, in reading it, it was like a horror story, the stuff that she went through about being raped and so forth. But I remembered Maya Angelou, yeah, essentially, yes, she was eloquent. She spoke perfect English. She articulated her words and she was celebrated. But as I read further and further in her history, I mean, she was, yeah, she made excuses for a lot of stuff. I mean, I didn't find anything, there's nothing that made me jump out, as far as her career, as far as the things that she said. You need but, hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, so with Maya Angelou, so we have Michelle Obama saying this, and look, Obama's they're the last person. Now you notice how they started to come out from under the rock and talk and say different stuff. Like remember last year, Obama did that podcast with Bruce Springsteen, and he's doing this podcast talking about why he didn't do more for black people, saying making up every excuse. Then he's talking about how black men voting for Trump because they're attracted to gold and all of this stuff and money. He was hinting at that with hip hop. You remember, Shawn?
Yeah, I remember all that stuff.
So now they're all talk, and anything with all due respect, what Mrs. Obama has to say, what the former first lady has to say, means nothing to me. It's her
Yeah.
opinion; she has a right to it. But you're celebrating this. Well, hell, why didn't your husband do it? if it was that special. Yeah, husband. Let's be real. Obama in his first 2 years, he could have accomplished a lot when he had control of the Senate, when he had control of the House. He was stacking the Supreme Court with Hispanic, with he had women and LGBTQ. That's the group he looked out for. And honestly, that's what Maya Angelou was promoting. Yeah, hello? Go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah, but that's what Obama was. He was just a guy who he talked a good game and told you what you wanted to hear.
Oil
But
sales. He was
he
an
didn't.
oil salesman.
Yeah, he just told people what they wanted to hear, but he really wasn't about black people. He basically was licking the boots of white supremacy, and he's the kind of guy. What they do is they trot these kind of what I call Trojan horse Negroes out here, and they look black on the outside, but they want to be really white on the inside. And what they do is they deceive black people into supporting these kind of candidates, and these candidates talk about change, but all they are about is maintaining the status quo and making sure that the status quo is taken care of and that those white people get what they want and we get nothing at the end of the day. So that's what they want. They want that kind of guy. And that's what we have to look out for. And that's why it's important for us to go out here and pick our own candidates and make sure that they go out are what we want represented, not what they want representing for us.
Right, right. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like the channel, if you like what you hear, if you agree with this or not, that's fine. What are your thoughts about Maya Angelou on the court? Most people I'm seeing here don't care for it. Did she have some serious daddy issues? Yeah, she did. I mean, her father, even in the book, if you read it, uh, she talked about the issues she had with her dad. I don't know if anybody read How the Cage Bird Sings, but uh, Why the Cage Bird Sings, but we talked about that. Just read it. And it doesn't even look like her. Yeah, look at the quarter again. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. You said it doesn't look like her. I don't know. Maybe this was when she was starring in Roots. They tried to get a look like that.
Hmm.
When she played Kunta Kinte's grandmother.
It shows the smallest image that practically minimized her. And this is your tax dollars at work.
Yeah. Your tax dollars go for more blacks on quarters, but not giving black people quarters.
Yep. Not
So
giving us tangible money like reparations to pay for slavery, Jim Crow, and past and current and ongoing discrimination. I mean, that's what we need. We need tangibles, not empty symbolic gestures. And that's what they want to give you because the bootleg class, they think that that's an achievement because they're looking for the love of white zaddy. But the whole thing is that we have to understand that we need more than the hugs from white zaddy. We deserve tangibles for the taxes we pay to this country and all what they have done to us as a people.
someone said Booker T. Washington they thought was on the 50 Cent. No. The silver dollar, I know is what they call it. Isn't that 50 cents?
Yeah, well, it's a silver dollar's a dollar, but there's the 50-cent piece, which is JFK.
JFK,
And
right. This 50 cent piece was yeah, that was JFK. That's what they called, right? JFK was on. Yeah, John F. Kennedy. Let me just see right quick. I'm gonna move on in a bit, but yeah, but that was Eisenhower was on the Eisenhower dollar is the $1 coin. JFK was on the 50 cent, right?
Yeah, it was an Ike dollar. Before JFK was on the 50-cent piece, Benjamin Franklin was on a $half. And then you had the quarter, which was George Washington, the dime, who I forget who that is, but the nickel was Thomas Jefferson. And then you had the penny, which is Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, yeah. So this was the Eisenhower dollar. Superstar Bella said, "What's the point? We're going to be cashless soon." Yeah, cash is that's another thing. That's why it's just empty. It doesn't mean anything. We're already a cashless society now. We do things. We use Cash App. We use Zelle. We use PayPal to transfer money. We use Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Yeah, but that's the yeah, JFK was the $half. FDR is on the dime. Lincoln is on the penny. And if you know Dick Gregory, he always talked about how Lincoln was black. That's why they put him on the penny, the copper, because it was brown. He said that before. I've heard that. But we're going to go ahead and move on, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And speaking of cash, please donate to the Cash App, Google Pay, and PayPal at the bottom. Next, Shawn, we're going to talk about this. I want to get your thoughts on this matter as well. So, as we speak right now, if you haven't had a chance to, I've told you all about this new this TV series, the Women of the Movement, and they're supposed to be talking about Mamie Till and her son Emmitt Till. Well, as this is coming out, the Senate has passed a bill to award both Emmitt Till and his mother Mamie Till Mobley the Congressional Gold Medal. For more than 60 years ago, after his murder by white supremacists in the 1950s, Emmitt Till and his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, who insisted on an open casket funeral for her son, are one step closer to being posthumously awarded Congressional Gold Medals, the country's highest civilian honor. Till was a Chicago teenager when he was brutally beaten days after it was claimed he whistled at a white woman in rural Mississippi, where he was visiting family members during the summer. 4 days later, Till was kidnapped from his uncle's home, beaten and mutilated, and lynched by two white men. A large metal fan was tied to his neck and barbed wire. He was tossed in the Tallahatchie River. Till's murderers, Roy Bryant and his half-brother J.W. Millam, were acquitted by an all-white jury months later, despite his uncle's eyewitness testimony. His funeral was attended by more than 50,000 people, for which Mamie Till Mobley demanded that he have an open casket funeral. Later, Jet magazine published photos of his body, galvanizing the civil rights movement. So, Miss Mobley, who died in 2003 at the age of 81, she co-founded the Emmitt Till Justice Campaign to push for the reinvestigation of the murder by the state of Mississippi, the FBI, and the Department of Justice. In 2007, the campaign helped to pass the Emmitt Till Unsolved Civil Rights Crime Act of 2007, which ensures the Justice Department and FBI investigate cold cases from the civil rights era. So this bill was sponsored by Senator Cory Booker and Senator Richard Burr, to posthumously honor Till and Till Mobley. That was introduced in 2020 and reintroduced last year. On Tuesday, the legislation to award the Congressional Gold Medal posthumously to mother and son passed in the Senate. It says here, I'm reading a part of Senator Booker's statement. At the age of 14, Emmitt Till was abducted and lynched at the hands of white supremacists. His gruesome murder still serves as a solemn reminder of the terror and violence experienced by Black Americans throughout our nation's history. The courage and activism demonstrated by Emmitt's mother, Mammie Till, in displaying to the world the brutality endured by her son helped awaken the nation's conscience, forcing America to reckon with its failure to address racism and the glaring injustices that stem from such hatred. A new docu-series called Let the World See, which explores Till Mobley's story from government worker to civil rights activist and educator, premieres on ABC on Thursday. So that actually is coming on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because as we speak right now, Women of the Movement is on right now, or actually it's over with at this point, but Let the World See is been on right now. And I've been watching the show, and I can tell you, wow, I want to do a separate video on it because I have a lot to say about the docu-series and what they have done with it and my thoughts on it. But Mamie never had any other children yet, so what's the point of all this fake stuff? My opinion on it, Sat, is this. You all can give us coins with poets on them. You can give a posthumous award to Emmitt Till and his mother, and yet you passed an act years ago in Emmitt Till's name to reopen old civil rights cases to investigate and prosecute those who got away from justice when these incidents happened. And yet the woman who was there, by accounts from Mo's Wright's testimony, by his son, and others that were there, they heard a woman identify Emmitt Till at that house when they abducted him. And that woman, and I use that term loosely, is still alive. And your Department of Justice decided that you would not press charges due to lack of evidence and in the case, and obviously I'm sure you all considered the woman's age, but you know something, with regards to age, you had no problem. The state of Pennsylvania had no problem sending an 80-year-old blind man to jail on hearsay. You had no problem, and I still see no problem with prosecuting these Nazi war criminals, some of whom are in their 90s and using oxygen tanks now. They find them, they take them into an ambulance, and they cuff them right to the gurney. You know that, Shawn?
Yeah, I know.
I've seen this. This is all empty symbolism. Now, I can understand if the family, because Emmitt Till still has cousins. He has his cousins and are still alive. I know Mammie Till, she was not probably, she had no children after Emmitt, sadly, and she outlived her husbands. Now, what is interesting too, Shawn, they don't talk about, if you watch the docuseries, I got to do a video on it, but they leave out Emmitt's father in it, although he's talked briefly in the opening of it. But Emmitt Till's dad, and I said this before, was also the victim of what many believe to be racial injustice, because he was lynched. He was killed after a court-martial, accusing him of raping two white women and killing one. And there are books on that as well that are available. This brother who wrote this book on Lewis Till, I've talked about it. I'm going to do a whole separate video on it. But apparently, we looked at the trial record and I talked about it. He says it seems that it was racially motivated and he didn't get a fair shake. The brother who wrote this was a man named John Edgar Wideman. He wrote the book called Writing to Save a Life, the Lewis Till File. So, Shawn, what are your thoughts about the family? Emmett Till getting an award, a Congressional Gold Medal, and his mother getting a Congressional Gold Medal. I'll let you comment.
I believe this is the greatest slap in the face our government could give Emmett Till, his mother, and his family, because they're going to sit there and make another empty symbolic gesture by giving the Till family and their son an award for dying and experiencing racism and Jim Crow. That's a middle finger thrown up at not only the late Emmett Till and his late mother, but it's a major middle finger thrown up at the black community. Basically, they're saying, I'll give you an award for dying, but I won't give you the tangible of justice. Because you're going to sit there and give us an award for dying at the hands of racists and dealing with oppression, but you're not going to give us the tangible of justice and punish those who orchestrated this murder. I mean, I know that the two white males that are dead now, but your Carolyn Donham, the woman who orchestrated all this, is still alive, and she has openly come out and confessed to setting up this entire event and orchestrating this whole event, not because Emmett Till whistled at her, but because she wanted to crap test her husband and see what she could get away with. And what's the great travesty of justice here is that this white female has gotten away with this crime for over 70 years, and she has never been tried as related to these charges for the murder of Emmett Till, because those two beta male simps would have never gone after your Emmett Till had she not gone out here and orchestrated this whole event and sent those guys out here. But she has gotten off scot free due to our gynocentric and white supremacist system, and they continue to give her a pass instead of holding this woman accountable. And what's really egregious about this whole affair is the fact that the Department of Justice closes the case on your Emmett Till. Then they want to come out here and hand out some empty awards like that really means something. It means absolutely nothing because we did not see justice. We did not have an interpretation of law that sets a boundary as related to Black people's rights. And what they want to do is cover it up with an award saying, oh, here's some medals, here's some awards. That means absolutely nothing because this young man lost his life almost 60, 70 years ago. He never got a chance to live a full life,
Right.
all because some raggedy white female was feeling insecure about being in the presence of Black people. And because she was feeling inadequate, she wanted to go out here and pull this little crap test. And this boy lost his life, but we're supposed to just take these medals as some sort of consolation prize. And this Black boy's life has no value. The consolation prize is supposed to have value because, oh, it's a medal from the government, but it's one big middle finger thrown up at Black people as related to the value of our lives in this country. That this young boy lost his life. His mother is not even here to receive this award. This is the greatest expression of passive aggressive contempt because passively they're giving you, an award, but aggressively they're showing you how little they care about you because they're not going to give you justice. They will work harder to give an Asian person justice as related to their so-called anti-Asian hate law, but a Black American who has experienced hate and racism and lost their life, they don't want to give them any sort of justice or make sure that the surviving killer is put to justice. Because this woman, as I see it, she belongs in prison until she can take that trip to hell where she belongs, and she belongs there. She belongs in prison because if it wasn't for her, Emmett Till would still be alive today.
most definitely. And if she has a conscience, which she doesn't, she should just admit what she did, say she's sorry, and do her time in jail till she dies.
Yeah. Well, they'll be waiting for her in hell, where she will be in the barbecue section where she belongs. There's a spot for her in the lake of fire.
Yeah. I mean, the movie is, and here's the interesting thing, and spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it, the movie does show and point out her being there at the, well, they don't show her, but it's implied that she's there when they come to pick up Emmett. So, and this is all based off the trial record. And even further than that, Sean, there were blacks unnamed, well, someone unnamed that were also involved in Emmett Till's murder. You aware of that?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I've read
These
a lot of stories on it.
those coons and bootlicks that were part of that, they got it coming too.
Yeah. So all of them killed a little boy, and it was the worst thing you could ever do is to hurt a child.
Yeah, they killed the kid. You killed the boy for nothing. And from what I'm hearing, she was actually promiscuous. I've
Yeah,
heard stories. Yeah, I've heard stories about her.
she was playing those guys, and they didn't even see that she was just doing this just to see what she could get away with.
Funky dog headed. I know you. Forget her. Fuck her. But yeah, it's anything dealing with these metals, they could take them and shove it. Shove it up there. You know what? I'm done with the symbolic awards. I'm done with it. It's doing nothing. What does that give us?
Absolutely
Absolutely
nothing.
nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was happy. Put it to you like this: when Jack Johnson was pardoned by Donald Trump, I was happy for that because at least for Jack Johnson's family, when that happened, they got that stain removed from their cousin or their great uncle, whatever relation Jack Johnson was to them. But the damage was done to Jack Johnson, sadly. And our former president, Barack Obama, wouldn't even entertain it. They wouldn't even entertain it. So, no, they did more than kill him. You're absolutely right, Bishop. He was tortured to death. He was tortured before they shot him and killed him. They gave the mercy shot. If it wasn't even mercy. They, you know, he had cuts and bruises all over his body. Yes, indeed. Emmett Till's father was 23, and Emmett was a 14-year-old. Most definitely, empty symbolism. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Shawn, next thing I want to talk to you about is what's going on right now with the calls to bypass filibuster rules by President Biden. Now, I talked about this this past Tuesday. I want to know what your thoughts are with this and everybody in the chat because we have this stuff and I, with all of the symbolism stuff coming in, I'm going to tie this in. But Biden calls on Senate to change filibuster rules to pass voting rights bill. So what I talked about last time. Now Biden was on the steps of Morehouse College and Clark Atlanta University and he spoke about bolstering voting rights legislation, wanting the Senate to change the filibuster rules, which require 60 votes to end debate on legislation. And that was a part of his focus. Now, he says, I've been having these quiet conversations with members of Congress for the last 2 months. I'm tired of being quiet. He said, without changing the rules, it's unclear how either Biden wants passed the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which he's trying to get done. And this is to repair that Supreme Court decision that was rendered in 2015 uh, that struck down a part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. He says here, hearkening back to his campaign slogan, the president told attendees in Atlanta that the battle for the soul of America is not over, and he directly tied the passage of voting rights legislation to the January 6th insurrection. Biden called the violent mob that stormed recalled the violent mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, and former President Donald Trump, who he said sought to win through violence what he had lost through the ballot box to impose the will of a mob to overturn free and fair elections and for the first time in American history to stop peaceful transfer of power. They failed, but democracy's victory was not certain, nor is democracy's future. He went on, the vice president even spoke. And what's interesting is that Black voters matter. The head of it, I talked about this last time. They criticized the president. Cliff Albright said, "We don't need another speech. We don't need him to come to Georgia and use us as a prop. What we need is work." If he is saying the next 7 days is going to be historic and critical, he's got to fully lean in after he gives the speech, having the kinds of meetings, finding out from West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin what exactly it's going to take, and being very direct and forceful, just as forceful as he has been on infrastructure and some other issues. Now, what was interesting too is that Georgia leader Stacey Abrams, arguably they call the Democratic Party's preeminent voting rights advocate since her 2018 gubernatorial loss to Republican Brian Kemp, did not attend the speech. And of course, she is running for governor again for 2022, I believe. I'm seeing this, Shawn, and what a lot of people know, and I talked about this Tuesday. Remember, what you have seen now is that the Democrats have been pushing for this, they have been pushing hard for this voting rights and so forth. But the trick is this. If you notice, Shawn, and you're up in New York, you have Democratic leaders that are allowing illegal immigrants to even vote in local elections. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's what we have.
That's what you have. And I find tying that in to that into what Biden's speech is here, what he's talking about, what happened in this election, and his history. He has not lived up, first off, to any promises that he has made. Uh, he has not done anything specifically for the Black community, and every time, and this bill in particular is not really about Black folks. His policies, his number one priority when he got in office was, he said it was LGBTQ, was helping illegal immigrants with the Dreamers program, who this is benefiting from, who would benefit from this. And let us not forget, and what was funny as I was reading this, that the Republicans even called out Joe Biden's, and I shared this with everybody last time because you saw it. They were called out because he had a history and even talked about having close ties with George Wallace, having ties with Strom Thurmond, and others who opposed Blacks getting the right to vote. The House Republicans actually had a tweet here. You can see there. It says here, most of the 1988 Democratic presidential candidates agree with Rob on the importance of the South. Senator Joseph Biden of Delaware, for example, tells Southerners, this Governor Charles Robb of Virginia at the time, tells Southerners that the lower half of his state is culturally part of Dixie. He reminds them that former Alabama Governor George Wallace praised him as one of the outstanding young politicians of America. We got people, of course, that are commenting, praising, and saying this was over 50 years ago. This was 1987, a long time ago. Uh, they threw John Lewis's name on the bill to trick low information black folks to think it had something to do with them. Yeah, that's what they do. And you look at John Lewis's history with all, and I don't like to disparage the dead, but John Lewis as a representative, especially from Atlanta, uh, most of what I heard has been negative. Most of what I seen was negative. Even the Wall Street Journal did a whole story after he died about his time as a representative and how bad his district deteriorated. A lot of these congressional Black Caucus leaders and representatives have represent some of the poorest areas in the nation, and the areas are dilapidated. No economic development. You're yes, you're going to tell me that we're impacted more locally by our local leaders, but you don't think the congressional leaders have no influence? Is that what you're telling me? Go ahead, Shawn.
Well, this whole voting rights law is just a crock of crap. And what your Joe Biden is doing is trying to trick black people into going out and supporting a bill that does not benefit us at all. What they want to do is make it look like, oh, we're out here to fight for black people's voting rights, which were secured with the Voting Right Act of 1965, and even before then with the 13th Amendment. So you're sitting there talking about, oh, we've got to fight for voting rights. No, what you want to do is trick black people, use black people as the face of your legislation so that you can go out here and bring in illegals and then try to make them your new voting bloc. And this law does nothing for black people because your Joker Joe Biden already done told black people he's not going to do anything for us. So why are we going out here and supporting this guy? I mean, this piece of legislation is absolute garbage and it brings nothing tangible to black people because, excuse me, if Joe Biden wanted to do something for black people, he would give us tangibles as in exchange for our vote, and he would have given us those tangibles back in 2020. Basically, what he wants to do is screw the black voter, use them as a pawn in this chess game, and he knows that he's losing support with that Hispanic voting bloc, which voted red heavily in local elections last year and already has negative approval ratings this year as related to him. So he's trying to go out here and show, oh, I'm for illegal immigrants. I'm trying to give you rights. But the great irony is that this may blow up in these leftists' face because a lot of these leftists, like here in New York, they're thinking, oh, we'll go out here and get these illegals to go out here and vote and they'll be so grateful to vote for us because we gave them the right to vote. But this may blow up in their face as these people vote red because many of these people have values that are diametrically opposed to those of these leftists. And many of these people, they hold values that are diametrically opposed to many of these leftists. So these leftists are thinking, oh, they'll try to create the same covert contract that they had with black people. But what they're going to find is many of these people who are a part of these groups that illegal aliens are a part of, like Hispanics and like many of the members of the Muslim community, they are not really on their side like they think they are. And if you give them the right to vote, they may vote against you, like we saw here in New York, where a majority of these Asians and Hispanics voted red. And in places like Texas and Florida, those Hispanic voting blocks and Asian voting blocks that they went out here and built, they're voting red as well. So this may blow up in their face, but your Joe Biden continues to push on because he's so desperate to get a win. And he's been steady losing ever since the whole Afghanistan debacle. And he wants a win so badly now that he's lost as related to the jab in Supreme Court. He is lost as related to his agenda. And if he gets, and with this whole law, it's looking like the filibuster is getting busted by members of his own party. And the whole Biden agenda is crumbling as we speak. And he's desperately looking for a win. but he's not. I don't think he's going to get a win either way, because even if he does get the legislation passed, it may blow up in the leftist face as those groups that he's trying to go out here and give the vote to with this trick that he's using black people for may wind up voting red, and he might regret alienating that black voting bloc that he believes he does not need anymore, because many of these leftists sit there and they believe, I don't need these black voters anymore. I'm going to go get me some other voting blocks. But it's looking more and more like those voting blocks are not looking to support them because they're not offering anything tangible to the table, and they can't take these groups for granted the same way they do black people.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And I think that there is something to be said about what we're seeing, something to be said of what you're to double on about the Hispanic vote. I mean, they're predominantly Republican. If you look at they vote conservative. If you look at Florida, Florida turned red for Trump instantly. The moment 8 o'clock hit, they knew in these areas, especially like Little Havana, which is very conservative, they're going to go with the conservative guy, which was Trump. The closest, although Trump was independent, that's the closest they had. That's who he appealed to. Biden, he doesn't strike. I can't even see Biden winning re-election.
No, he's on his way out.
This way at what's going on now, they're talking about Kamala Harris coming in. I think she would not do. She'll be on her way out. What do you think, though, Shawn, are the chances? Just tying that in. Do you think, I don't know who her opponent is, but Stacey Abrams, for instance, is running for governor out in Georgia? I think we talked about this, but do you actually think she has a chance at winning Georgia?
I don't think she has a chance at winning. I mean, I look at Stacey Abrams and she has no vision. She has no direction. Outside of being a black woman, she has nothing really to offer. And she reminds me a lot of Eric Adams here in New York. Now, Eric Adams was able to trick people by presenting himself as this black man who was going to bring about change. But that gimmick doesn't work anymore because people saw the Obama swerve, they saw the Adams swerve, and people are catching on to this gimmick with these trotted out, hand-picked Negro candidates. And I don't think this is going to fare well for Stacey Abrams because they saw what she did with the All-Star game, costing Atlanta $100 million in a time when Georgia's economy was in a bad place. And she's not really showing us that she's an effective leader because she spoke against the state when a lot of businesses were struggling, especially black-owned businesses were struggling, and she cost all those businesses millions of dollars and millions of tourism dollars. So she already has shown us that she's not out here looking out for the best interests of Georgians. And when I look at Stacey Abrams, she's a lot of talk like Barack Obama, an empty suit like Eric Adams, a lot of mouth, and just another certified bootlick. So only a fool would go out here and vote for this woman when Brian Kemp has actually gone out here and actively kept Georgia's economy strong during the pandemic, and he's kept Georgia open and kept it functioning without the dysfunctional mandates that have choked the life out of people here in New York. And that's all your Stacey Abrams has to offer people is, she's going to probably bring mandates to people choking out their economy. She's going to bring mandates choking out people's money. And she's going to make your Georgia into another dysfunctional state like New York. And that's a reason why a lot of people wouldn't want to vote for Stacey Abrams, because outside of her big mouth, she brings no substance. And outside of her black skin, she brings nothing to the table that makes you see her as any sort of leader who will set a direction for the state. I mean, as I see it right now, Brian Kemp is doing a better job of running Georgia than anybody your Kathy Hochul here is doing here in New York. And I'd rather have a Brian Kemp here in New York than an incompetent Kathy Hochul who just toes the party line and does the dirty work of their slave masters. And that's what Stacey Abrams would do if she were in charge. And that's why I don't want to see her get elected, but I don't think she's going to get elected because a bloodbath is coming that is going to pale in comparison to 1994 because the Biden administration has failed so miserably that I see not only a red wave, I see a red tsunami, and I see the whole country going red in 2022 and going even redder in 2024.
This is your Eric Adams. This is your mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Cornbread eating bootlick.
A room like this.
Yeah.
You can start out, I always recommend to start out in a periodic fashion so you'll be used to going through the room to look at the various items in the room. You can look at the jewelry box. A jewelry box of this nature, maybe a simple jewelry box, but if you look through it closely, you don't know what your child may be hiding. For instance, a gun could be hidden, a small caliber weapon could be hidden inside a jewelry box. Look at the various colognes and perfumes and photos and pictures. You should always, when your child brings in his popular knapsack with many different locations, look through it to see what exactly is your child carrying in addition to a book. Something simple as a crack pipe, a used crack pipe. Could he have found it on the street? That's quite possible. But this is a discussion piece where you should start speaking with him to find out what is he doing with it. And the whole use of drugs. A room like this. You can start out, I always recommend to start out in a periodic fashion so you'll be used to going through the room.
I've had enough. That's your mayor.
The new cream of wheat man. A buck dancing, bojangling, stepping, fetch it minstrel.
You can't stand him, huh?
No. He pulled a swerve that was worse than Barack Obama, and it's going to drive New York City straight into the ground, just like David Dinkins back in the early 90s and the late 80s. I mean, this guy is going to choke the life out of New York City. And sadly, many people, all they saw was the color of his skin, but not the content of his character.
Teachers, huh?
Yeah. He's basically going to be he's like a mini version of Obama.
Yeah.
Look at that. Now, I just clicked on this, but this is a school board member. Hold on. I don't even know what this is.
Black teachers. I know you mentioned it earlier. Do you know what the statewide average is for black teachers?
Not at this moment.
10%. 10%. I looked it up. The statewide average for black teachers is 10%. Houston ISD, which I'll use as a shining example. You know what their average percentage of black teachers is? 36%. I looked that up. You know what their dropout rate is? 4%. I don't want to be 4%. I don't want to be HISD. I want to be a shining example. I want to be the district standard. I want to be the place, the premium place where people go to be. And quite frankly, we have a limited budget with limited. That is hard. But Cy-Fair has what? 13% black teachers. I know you mentioned it earlier. With limited.
Someone said this racist Texas sci-fi member just said that more black teachers lead to worse outcomes. He must resign, then be called out and be sued. Our school boards across the country suck. But yeah, so that wasn't even why I was scrolling down here, guys. Since we were talking about Eric Adams, I saw something that even that Tariq Nasheed had posted that stated that even some of Eric Adams' supporters are now turning against him.
Yeah, he's basically turning into Elliot Spitzer.
How soon you think it'll be before he resigns?
He'll be resigning in a year or so because he's alienated a lot of people here in New York. I mean, people are now talking about how they regret voting for him because they thought he was going to bring change to the city, but he's just de Blasio 2.0. He's tap dancing for these white leftists, and he's not looking out for the residents of New York. And a lot of the white residents now are even angry at him because they're seeing that life is not going to change under him. We're going to get the same dysfunction. So he's really gone out here and alienated a lot of people. And even worse, he's been real arrogant about it. I mean, he appointed his brother as a deputy police commissioner, and that turned a lot of people off. And I look at his actions, and they remind me so much of white New York Governor Elliot Spitzer, who ran New York for about a year before he had wound up pissing off so many people, not only on the Republican side, but the Democrat side, and a scandal broke out. And that was the end of Elliot Spitzer, who called himself the Steamroller. They wound up running over him, and that was the end of him because he did not know how to do proper protocol, and he did not know how to go out here and
He will be in
work with
charge of
people.
my security, which is extremely important to me in a time when we see an increase in white supremacy and hate crimes. I have to take my security in a very serious way.
You know who he reminds me of?
Okay, but let me be clear on this.
Y'all remember this actor? Y'all remember this guy? Roscoe
Yeah.
Lee Brown. Yeah. He played Honest Sam on Good Times, but he was on a lot of shows back in the day.
Yeah, he was on a different world.
Different World. He was on the Cosby Show. Let's Do It Again. Not Let's Do It Again. Uptown Saturday Night. I remember he was on an episode of New York Undercover, where he played the Bad Blood was the episode. I remember that. Oh. He was also in Sanford and Son when he's doing karate chops and stuff. And Fred says, "This nigga's crazy." Out loud. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it looks just like Eric Adams.
Donna.
Good evening, Fred. Good evening, Lamont.
Hello, how are you?
Mr. Wilcox will be in a minute.
Oh, well, maybe the old timer's having trouble getting out the car. I'll go give him a hand. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Be of good cheer. All's good is here.
Mr. Wilcox, may I present my fiancé, Fred Sanford, and his son, Lamont. Lamont, Fred, Osgood Wilcox.
Yes, you do. Oh. In pretty good shape. Indeed I am. I did 30 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and jogged 3 miles this morning before breakfast.
Someone called him. Darius said, "Old Jughead." Yeah. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, y'all. Donate to the Cash App if you think this live stream is on point. You enjoy what we're saying and talking about. Yeah, I didn't really have any much more other than that, man. But yeah, with this thing in New York, the stuff we got going on, looks like times are changing. People are becoming more fed up. People are not tolerating a lot of stuff. We talked about last week what would happen with Ahmaud Arbery and his murderers. I believe we talked about them getting life in prison. If, for instance, Eric Garner had been killed around this time, Jason Black stated that Pantaleo, the officer who killed him, would be in jail because people got fed up and started to rise more. Like, you can't get away with certain stuff that you did 10, 15 years ago. Do you think that's true to a degree, or do you think
I believe we would have gotten some type of action because people are really fed up. I mean, George Floyd was the breaking point because before that, we had a decade of black men practically dying, like your Trayvon Martin. We had Michael Brown. We had Philando Castile,
Today,
Alton Sterling. I mean, we had so many black men dying, and it was a powder keg building up for over a decade. And people just got fed up after they saw further of their rights being restricted by this pandemic, and they wound up exploding in a rage. And people are really tired of a government that basically serves white supremacy, and they're tired of a government that denies black people the rights to justice. So I believe we it's like this was a powder keg that was getting ready to blow up, and if we don't see more tangible justice, we may see another explosion coming sooner, rather than later.
Yeah. Let me say this. Yeah, all died during the Obama administration. That is true.
Yeah,
A
and
lot
he
of
did nothing for black people, so that's why
Trayvon
people are fed up with them.
Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Walter Scott. There's a bunch.
So
Mike-
many.
Yeah. Something I wanted to. Oh, Roscoe Lee Brown with that ascot. Yeah. All right. I did want to play this, Shawn, since we talked about, and this is the last thing, I talked about this idiot deputy that got fired for this racist remark about Brother Arbery. I don't know if you've heard this video, but I was talking about it yesterday. He got suspended, and it's likely to be fired. But these are from the comments he
A
made.
Georgia sheriff's deputy has been suspended over comments he made on social media about the sentencing of Ahmaud Arbery's killers. Tarek's been following the story for us and joins us in the newsroom. So Tarek, what did the deputy say?
Well, Paul Earnhardt is a longtime deputy with the Houston County Sheriff's Office that is just south of Macon, Georgia, reacting to a news story on a Facebook page after the three men were sentenced. Someone wrote, "That criminal Arbery still got the death penalty, though." The comment was later deleted, but screenshots were shared with the Sheriff's Office, which investigated and suspended Earnhardt. The sheriff says he took action because the conduct discredited the department and was unbecoming of an officer. Earnhardt will be fired next week unless he appeals. It appears his Facebook page has now been deleted. Greg and Travis McMichael, along with their neighbor William Bryan, were sentenced to life in prison last week. The McMichaels were denied any chance of parole.
Yeah, so you see assholes like that. And I mean, you can be caught on tape doing the worst. They're still going to defend what they've done. It doesn't care. I'm white and I say so. I say so. Ahmaud Arbery wasn't even, Ahmaud Arbery was never even arrested for a crime in this matter. You know why? Because he was shot dead. He was not given due process. He was not given a day in court. And what he did, honestly, didn't amount to any illegality. The owner had no problem with it because they had so many other people going on the property looking at it. Go ahead, Shawn, if you want to comment on it.
Yeah, but this is what happens with these rogue police officers. They believe that they have the right to go out here and make these kind of statements, but this is just inappropriate behavior for a police officer to drop this type of inappropriate comment on social media. The Ahmaud Arbery case, clearly he did nothing wrong at all. All he was doing was jogging in a neighborhood. He looked around an unconstructed house. He committed no crime whatsoever. So you have a member of law enforcement here, and what he's doing is he's expressing a statement that really is just inappropriate for an officer to do out here as related to his professional job, because you're a person like Ahmaud Arbery who is innocent until proven guilty, and he never committed any crime whatsoever. So this was the right thing to do, to terminate this officer, and it's another way of punishing one of these rogue police officers. Now, this is the standard Black people need to keep pushing for, because the more we punish these rogue police officers, the more we punish these race soldiers, the more we punish these beta male suburban commandos, we can set a standard for how Black people will be treated in this country, and we will set a boundary for how we are treated in this country. And the harder we set that boundary, the more people will respect us as a people. So when we go, every bad police officer we get kicked off the force, every race soldier we get put in jail, every rogue police officer we get put in jail, every suburban commando who we send to prison to get turned out by Bubba and Tiny for ramen noodles and Little Debbie snack cakes. This sets a standard that teaches people that a Black life has value and that you're not going to go out here and disrespect Black people and treat Black people like second-class citizens.
Amen. Most definitely. Well, Shawn, I appreciate you always giving your knowledge and dropping it here on this platform every Thursday night. You know, guys, next week I was supposed to do a show in Lafayette, headline at the worst open mic. That's what it's called, WURST. Not that it is the worst open mic at the Bear Garden. And I got some news, unfortunately. On January 20th, I was told that they're shutting their show down due to COVID.
Oh, so sorry.
My headline event has been postponed. I don't say canceled because I'll do another one, but it's been postponed until a further date. So, you know, I'm still going to do me, still do my thing. There'll be some shows I'll be here. You guys that can come out and hit if you're in the New Orleans area or wherever. You follow me on Gavin Richard Comedian. That's actually my Facebook page, Gavin Richard -comedian. You follow me and you can see where I'll be because I'll be posting it. So I'm not giving up on it, but it's just one of the things we deal with. And you know what's funny, Shawn? Today, the Supreme Court even blocked, and I can talk about this. They blocked a part of the Biden administration's rule for U.S. businesses. So they stopped the push by the administration to boost the nation's COVID-19 vaccination rate. At the same time, they allowed the administration to proceed with a vaccine mandate for healthcare workers in the United States. So the court actually stated OSHA has never before imposed such a mandate, nor has Congress. Indeed, although Congress has enacted significant legislation addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, it has declined to enact any measure similar to what OSHA has promulgated. Here, the conservatives wrote in their opinion. Now, you know that Supreme Court is stacked with a lot of conservatives. Trump stacked it. Of course, Biden has not stacked it yet because those people have not retired.
Yeah. And the whole thing is that mandate was unconstitutional. If you look at the state of the law as related to private business, a private business has the right to do whatever it pleases and create their own policies. So I look at that part of it and say, look, you can't tell a private business what to do. Even during a pandemic, we still have to follow the United States Constitution. So the Supreme Court was right on that point. And it was kind of right on the other point, because if these companies are receiving government funds, then they have a right to mandate how they do business because they're receiving government funds. But a private business is supposed to be able to do whatever it pleases, and it's not supposed to be under any sort of mandate like this. And again, this mandate is a dangerous thing because you're telling people they have to take this kind of medicine, as I see it, that really it's proving not to be as effective as they'd like to say. And we don't know the long-term side effects of this medicine. So people have a right to want to protect themselves and not put their own health at risk as related to an experimental, medicine.
You gotta be careful, Shawn.
I know, but this is what they put in their terms, and I'm not going to say any more about it because we know that they just don't want to talk about the details as related to it. But this Supreme Court case protects Americans' constitutional rights that we were supposed to have under the Constitution as related to the law. Because again, we are a nation of laws, not a nation where a president can unilaterally make choices. And this president has been told where the boundary is by the Supreme Court. And we need more rulings against guys like your Joe Bidens and your Eric Adams and your Bill de Blasio's, the man who started this complete mess. And we need to start setting boundaries because this is a nation of law, not a nation of guys trying to get brownie points and going out here and just crapping and wiping the Constitution, wiping their backsides with our Constitution.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: COVID-19 is very real. I have family members who have contracted it. We know our sister Nicole from Nicole's View; she's been battling it. And I just want to say again to Nicole, get well soon. So the virus is real. I think part of the reason too, Shawn, why people get frustrated is because our leaders have not been consistent with their directives, and they're ordering people to do all these other things, but they're not practicing what they preach. I.e., Nancy Pelosi going in to get her hair done. You got AOC who contracted COVID, who's maskless at that gay pride festival out in Miami. You had countless other. I mean, I can go on. I don't understand, and especially in some of these democratic cities where they have these mandates in place, but yet they're not willing to shut the city down. If it's that bad and the cases are rising, why aren't the schools closed? Why aren't we canceling Mardi Gras? Why aren't we postponing it? Mardi Gras, the Mayor Cantrell said it's going to go on. Well, they just announced that they're bringing the indoor mask mandate back. So, I mean, you're out.
Yeah.
We're out. Yeah, you're going to be outside at Carnival, but you're going to be crowded. If you've seen Mardi Gras, the pictures that we have here, it's a big crowd all along the streets. Everybody is close. There's no social distancing.
And no way to social distance.
Absolutely not. That's why I'm looking at this like we're really going to go on with Mardi Gras.
Basically, what they want is looking more and more like they just wanted to make Trump look bad with these whole measures as related to these lockdowns. But when Joe Biden's in office, we can have everything open and we need to keep the economy open. So that's the hypocrisy people are seeing as related to the policies this year as opposed to in 2020. And that's what's got a lot of people angry because they're seeing that your Joe Biden is looking like he's full of it. We have the highest COVID cases. We have people getting sick from the Omicron, the jab not working, but he wants to keep the economy open. People not able to go to work, people not able to do things, but he wants to keep the economy open when it's his economy. But when it's Trump's economy, we need to shut everything down. So a lot of people are looking at this and seeing some sort of okey doke. And that's further alienating people from Joe Biden. That's why the Quinnipiac poll recently said he has a 33% approval rating because he's really aggravated and angered a lot of people because he had no regard for people's businesses when it was Donald Trump and he shut them down. But he has even less regard for people by putting them in harm's way with this COVID. And what's happening is he's telling people who are sick to go to work, like in California, these leftists, they're telling sick people to go to work in the hospitals. Meanwhile, you tell unvaccinated people who test negative and have shown a better immune response in some cases, they can't go to work. And again, that's all about politics and feelings, not about taking care of the American people. And that really shows how little your Joe Biden cares about the American people. And it really shows a lot of people that this is more about people's feelings about Donald Trump and a Trump obsession rather than trying to help the country move past a pandemic that is looking like it's in its final phases.
Speaking of finals, we're going to wrap this thing up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Shawn, of course, for being out here. Before I go, Computer Robots was just saying, Shawn, to you, and that's a problem with these beta males like Joe Biden is that they don't know where the line is until somebody who has enough backbone and stones to push hard and show him the line.
Yeah. Because he needs a hard check.
Well, when these elections come up, the next round, which I believe is this year, you're gonna see that's gonna be the ultimate check. I think you're gonna see people come out in droves vote red.
Yep.
Even more black people probably will vote more red or not show up at all, rather.
Well, we're not getting any tangibles from Joe Biden. He's already told us he's not giving us anything. So why should we come out here and vote? And that's what people really, they need to think about that with Atlanta and his so-called voting rights that he's supposedly fighting for. I mean, there was a reason why Stacey Abrams didn't show up, because this guy, again, he's talking about going to black voters, talking about John Lewis with his empty symbolism. But where are the tangibles for black people? You said you couldn't do anything for black folks, but then you're going to go over to black folks and disrespect them by saying, oh, I'm going to talk about John Lewis and voting rights and all this stuff. But when black people wanted you to give them tangibles in 2020 in exchange for their vote, you couldn't do anything for them. And what black people need to do is say, we can't do nothing for you because you can't do nothing for us. And since there are no tangibles on the table, we're not even going to support any of the stuff that you're even proposing.
I can't
go get them votes from them Afghans, go get them votes from them non-citizens, because you ain't getting them from black American citizens.
As Public Enemy once said, I can't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. That's exactly what it is.
Running for your life, running from your wife. You should have stuck at home. Off your mind before you go.
Can't play all of it. But yeah, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, if New Orleans had it bad with cases 2 years ago, just wait until after Mardi Gras is over. It will be absolutely devastating. Yeah, preach Shawn, salute Derek Bailey. I mean, look, they're fighting for illegal, like I said, they're fighting for illegal immigrants. That's what that voting rights thing is about. Had nothing to do with black folks. Introducing Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com. Ladies and gentlemen, go to that website, Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawny's goes great with every dish. Also, to support our brother Shawn James, I need you to go to Amazon and look up the book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. That is his latest book in the SJS Direct.
Yeah, it's the latest book in the SJS Direct imprint.
Yes. Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Most definitely. Salute to Derek Bailey, Daniel Meyer, Danielle. Good to see you. Good to see Rosalind back. Black Voltron, as always. Films. Derek, Computer Robots, Cheryl, everybody. If I can't name you, it's my head, not my heart. Bishop Scott, of course, Darius, and a bunch of other people. I mean, we have the whole family in the chat. I probably had well over 200 views just so far. So that's good. Even though they've blocked this channel and try and stop us. But please donate to the Cash App support. And speaking of support, ladies and gentlemen, go to the Facebook page at Commonwealth Cause, to look up our Bill Cosby video, book. I said video. The trailer is on there, the trailer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby, Jr. Destruction of Due Process in the United States. Shawn is looking forward to buying it and it being released. A lot of people have. And trust me, it is going to be released very soon. I know I keep saying that, but we finished having our legal run through everything. So it's just a matter of time before we have our last draft set up, because this is, again, a nonfiction book. This is, again, a book that's about a travesty of justice that took place to a man who was America's dad. You know, they call Bob Saget America's dad. I don't know if you saw the headline, Shawn, recently of Bob Saget who died, but they call him America's dad. But the America's dad was not Bob Saget.
No, it was Bill Cosby.
It was Bill Cosby. Absolutely.
Bill Cosby became Full House didn't come on until 87 or so, and Bill Cosby, or 88. So I was around back then, but it just Bill Cosby was America's dad. It was on every magazine. It was on every TV guide. He was America's dad. What they're trying to do is whitewash and revise history, but Bill Cosby was America's dad.
Most definitely. And I remember when this show came on. I mean, look, I was a fan of the show. Yeah, it was 87. I apologize. I mean, look, I was a fan of the show. I liked Bob Saget when he did America's Funniest Home Videos and Full House, but you know, he was not. By no means he was America's dad. Bill Cosby ran. If anything, Bill Cosby's the reason Full House is on the air because the Cosby Show proved that the sitcom world wasn't dead.
Yeah, because before the Cosby, I mean, after the Cosby Show, you had Alan Thicke who felt insecure and he created Growing Pains, and then you had I think there was the guy who made the movie Just One of the Guys. They created Full House, so they all followed Bill Cosby, who was who reinvented the sitcom and reinvented the American father on television.
Right. And I mean, I remember when even Married with Children was inspired by Bill Cosby because it's antithesis of the Cosby Show. It was the complete opposite of it. And the actual working title for Married with Children was called Not the Cosbys.
Yeah.
When it started. But, you know, nevertheless, I want you all to go to Facebook and even go to YouTube and look at the trailer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. And that's the Facebook page, the link there. And also, someone asked when Bishop is coming back. Whenever Bishop wants to, he can come back. We might have him on next week or this Sunday. So y'all stay tuned. But what else we're going to talk about before we get out of here? I want y'all to please also go to Spotify, check out Video Soul, which is our latest single. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you know, our theme song is To Get On Up. And before we get on out of here, I want to thank Shawn for coming back on. I appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Thank you for having me on the air.
Okay. No problem. Thank you, brother. You're well appreciated. Please support our brother and buy some of his books, ladies and gentlemen. Terry. Well, yeah, Michael, the guy who created Married with Children was two people, Ron Levitt and Michael Moy. Michael is black. Most people may not know that Married with Children was co-created by a black man. He was actually a writer on The Jeffersons and Silver Spoons, and they wanted to do a show that was different from the Cosby Show, because remember when Married with Children came on, that was on the Fox network. Fox was going to be the opposite of all the other major networks. It was going to be something different, revolutionary, and they were going for that style of programming. So Married with Children pushed dysfunction. You know, Al Bundy got his ass kicked. Father didn't know best. And, you know, they had the Tracy Ullman show. And eventually they had later on, you know, In Living Color and The Simpsons, although The Simpsons was first than In Living Color. And then after In Living Color was successful, you had the black sitcoms that helped even build Fox's programming even more, like Martin and Living Single and New York Undercover. I remember, you know, Martin, remember Thursday nights?
Yeah, I remember.
Thursday nights on Fox, blacks fled more to Fox Network, while whites fled to must-see TV on NBC on Thursday nights when they watched Seinfeld and Frasier and all of those crappy shows. Yeah, but I still love Martin. Yeah. Well, all right, man. Yes, it was a great conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all in the next one. Shawn, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for having me on the air.
And ladies and gentlemen, whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. This is Gavin Reshaw with Gavin Reshaw Presents. We're going to get out of here. So let us now get on up. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, cause on the dance floor is where we're moving.
Show me what you got.
Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the
floor, baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up, baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.